Hello, I'm Sarah Wright, and welcome to Main Street Mining's fashion segment. We're super excited to be here. We're here with a couple of experts, both in buying and dealing in the vintage clothing industry. Mr. Stephen Porterfield from the Cat's Meow in Midland, Texas. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you.
And Miss Marilyn Harris from Chic Cherie in Plano, Texas. Welcome, Marilyn.
Yes.
We're going to be seeing some wonderful items on display all throughout the era. Lots of people get into vintage clothing for different reasons at different times in their life. Stephen is a very experienced TV appraiser who's been doing this for many, many years. And Stephen, I know when I got into vintage, but how did you get into vintage?
Well, actually, it's been more than 40 years ago. I actually got into it at the age of 11. My father was a minister, and my mother and all the women in the church would gather clothes all year. We actually had a man in our congregation that would lend one of his oil-filled trucks, and we would go into Mexico and drill wells, and the women would take clothing. And one year it was my job to pour all of the boxes out on the table. And as one spilled out, this dress spilled out. It was silk chiffon, halter cut, just like Marilyn Monroe wore, in the movie, and a big rhinestone buckle. But the fabric was the softest thing I'd ever felt in my life. I never knew that fabric was that way. And immediately I turned and held that in front of me and asked my mother, in front of all those church women, if I could have that dress. And my mother, who was so sweet, actually just stopped a moment and said, "Now, Stephen, if we're going to Mexico, some young Spanish lady will be beautiful with her dark skin and this beautiful red." And I turned to her and said, "Mama, some young Spanish lady will be an unwed mother if we send this to Mexico." And the women laughed, and one of the Bible teachers said, "Oh, Delphi, let him have the dress." And that's what started my passion for vintage. And I actually have clothing all the way back. The earliest dress I have right now is 1840s. And anyway, I just love fashion from all eras. And in this collection, we have fashions from the 1920s all the way up to current. So it's an exciting thing to be here today.
Oh, we are so excited. So some current items as well, like the Dior that I'm wearing here today. So there are wearable pieces for women as well.
Yes, actually, wearable is what has brought vintage fashion into the mainstream right now. Everybody wants to wear it. It's green to wear it, Plus, it's so beautifully constructed and beautifully made. It's far superior to most of the things we buy off the shelf today. The outfit that you're wearing is from the late 60s. It's two-piece linen and was constructed by Dior. It has the Dior New York label, which was made strictly for the American market at that time.
Well, I know I feel wonderful wearing it. And Marilyn, you have quite a few pieces in the auction as well, particularly some wonderful furs. Now, a lot of people would say furs are more of a fall-winter item. What would you have to say to that?
Well, I think that furs and vintage are good year-round, and furs are the time to think about buying furs is in the summer when prices are good, and also if your loved one are planning to buy you a gift for the holiday season, for Christmas. Now's a good time to purchase a fur or make your plans on trying on furs. Furs are very wearable and also very green. It's better to buy a vintage fur, than to go out and get a new fur, because you have good quality just like you do in vintage clothes, and you have a high fashion item at a fraction of the new price.
That's one of the wonderful things about vintage, is that you can buy such a quality item at a fraction of the cost. I mean, if you go to any of the big stores today that sell high-end designer clothing, you can spend easily $5,000 to $10,000 for a dress, an evening gown. In a vintage dress, you can get a quality, beautiful designer piece for a couple of $100s. So it's an amazing, amazing venue, this buying vintage.
Designer to value. I know that's what we're all looking for. There's some wonderful spring prom.
Yeah, there's prom dresses.
So all you women out there, I hope you're enjoying. Find some fabulous buys. All you guys, I hope you got the hint that now is the time to be thinking about some fabulous Christmas furs. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you all have happy bidding.